Everyone, Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. We are continuing our exploration of Madeleine McCann's disappearance. This is part 6. And in this part, we are basically just asking about, will her person ever be found? Will she be found? Will this case be solved? And if so, how and when? So that's what we're seeing, what can be revealed through the cards here, what Spirit's willing to share with us as it relates to her disappearance. So the very first question that we have is, will Madeleine ever be found? We've got the 5 of Pentacles, which does indicate like her actual self will likely not be found based on the current energies. Okay. Syringe. Crossroads. This is going just into why or why not. I'm getting a sense, no, she will not be found. Doesn't mean that the answers won't come. It just means that in terms of her actual self, her body, that may not happen. Okay, I'm going to zoom in so we can take a closer look at the cards. So we've got the 5 of Pentacles. When I said no, the reason being is that I use tarot to say yes, no, affirmative, negative, maybe, energies of, maybe, but this is a definitive no. This is a loss. We won't have that opportunity, unfortunately, to figure out what happened. So we have that. First oracle card we have is Syringe, Crossroads, Rope. Interesting. Being bound, being tied up. Some level of something toxic entering the system. Crossroads to me feels like it could be a literal crossroads, or it could be a crossroads of, I think of a rap song that I enjoyed back in the 90s. I think of the lyrics like meet me at the crossroads. And when I hear that, I think of the crossroads of, crossing over and being at a crossroads between life and death. So that is what I'm picking up there. A literal crossroads, maybe even a physical crossroads in the space of that resort. I really feel like when I think of a cross, I think of it like this, right? And I sense like there's something like an intersection, if you will, a crossroads in there that also just denotes this is the spot. X marks the spot. Rope, being bound, being tied up, being defenseless. Being defenseless. We have 9 of Cups. So this is what I was saying, that this is just because we don't find her physical person doesn't mean that we will be without answers forever in this lifetime. It just means that what we gain from the situation is answers, but it may not be in the answers of finding her actual self. We have the 10 of Rods. Rods traditionally is wands. So the 10 of Wands has come up a few times across Madeleine's readings that I've done, and it relates to a particular person. The latest alleged suspect, the Christian gentleman, right? That is interesting to me, as well as the King of Rods. I think it was in part 3 of her reading. The King of Rods or King of Wands had showed up, and I said, this is the person who is responsible for ultimately what happened to her. Yes, it was a series of events, series of celebrations that, you know, at least on her parents' part. But ultimately, what was the ending for her is related to a King of Wands. And that King of Wands had made an appearance in part 3 of the reading. So he made it such that she will not be found. X marks the spot. Crossroads speaks to just being just outside somewhere, the resort. I've talked about that at length, about her being somewhere there. Although there was a van, like a car or van or a mode of transportation. And of course it could mean that he drove her somewhere some short distance, but it also could just mean that, you know, he drives a van. He drove a van away from, you know, after he did this, there could have been DNA evidence in that vehicle that is no longer around. So that answers that question. Now we're going to move on to the next parts, which deals with will this case ever be solved? And if so, how and when, and what will kind of help the case move along. So we'll talk more about that in just a moment. I'll be right back. But before I do want to zoom in so you all can really see the cards that jumped. And I'll see if there's anything else. I don't know if this will shed any further light, but yeah, look, years jumped. Years. More years. Could be 5 more years. Look, tied up, bound. Sorry, I'm all zoom out a little bit. Tied up and bound. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. I'll see also, out of curiosity, with the syringe card. It's an interesting card. I don't know if it's going to tell us anything further before I move along. Yeah, the crossroads. So, you know, I have a little guide booklet here for this oracle deck. Crossroads is 2 paths to take, making a choice, an important decision, or uncertainty. And that ties into that 5 of Pentacles here. I was looking for a syringe. But it's not standing out to me. And I want to share with you before I wrap up the reading. It's always when you're looking for something, right? You can't quite find it. It's not staring out at, it's not popping up. Ah, syringe, a small sample, life force. Small sample, life force is what sticks out here. An influence, giving and receiving, addiction, drug use, immunization, protect against sickness. And yeah, somebody could be the suspect, could be the person who's associated with causing this to her, could have some sort of addictions here with this as well. All the cards talk to one another, for me at least. And I was going to look up rope. Bind, secure, strong connection, entanglement. I feel like one of those cards came up before. Something holding back, frustrated. And I also sense what that is speaking to, that frustrated piece, is that some people will be frustrated that, you know, naturally her family, that there may not ever be something where they can properly bury her, for example. That can be a strong source of frustration because it feels very incomplete. It feels very uncertain. It feels, you know, an open-ended situation that feels like it's never going to have a closing. But but time does heal all wounds. And so that's what we have here, is that, you know, time will heal wounds, but there's something about years in the making for even us probably getting a real handle on what ultimately happened to her, but it will be without having her physical body as a part of the evidence. Okay, now we're moving on to the next part so we can wrap up her reading. I'll be back. So we're now at the last part, which is asking the questions about what's next for the investigation, and will this case ever be solved? Will we get any information in the future about how and what happened, and if so, when? That's what we're asking now. Now, here's the thing. If the cards had come up earlier saying that no, it's a strong possibility that this gentleman is not involved, we would be going in a different direction, exploring who else it could be. But the cards seem to affirm strongly that this person has some involvement. So there's that. Now, and of course, if you all know of some suspects that you think have been overlooked, let me know, and we can perhaps consider doing a future reading on them. But I don't know, the card seems to strongly indicate, Spirit seems to strongly indicate that this person, this alleged suspect has involvement here. Spirit, I want to know, actually I want to use this deck. What is next for the investigation into the disappearance of Madeleine McCann? Oh, please. Will the case ever be solved? And how and when? Will the case ever be solved? How or when? I'll keep marking this. One card, please. Will the case ever be solved? Let's first ask that. Be solved. When? How and when? All of these cards affirm that at some point in the future we will get answers. The Three of Cups affirms this as it's a yes card, if you will. Okay. The Fool card and the World card, 21, could be 21 years. The number 21 is associated with the World card. It could be literally 2 + 1 = 3 more years. And we got the Three of Cups with that 3. Could be that. It's already been, I don't know how many yards. I have to look and see, but it may take additional time, but the answers will come, thankfully. These cards all affirm that. It will come. What's next in investigation? We have Knight of Swords and the Tower. Delayed messages. Something turning onto its head. Revealing the truth. Political affiliation. What's next for this investigation? What's coming up next? Any prosecutions? We did see the caught. We did see the caught and arrest card, or arrest and caught. So that is also affirming something could be coming up in terms of further prosecution. It's going to take, this is not going to be something though that happens overnight. I think that what a plus to this whole Julia lady, Polish lady coming forward is that it's reigniting some passion for law enforcement to seek the truth of the situation, turning things upside down, and thus causing people to be reinvigorated with wanting to know the truth. So in the coming months ahead, we may be hearing more about her case again, more developments coming, but it's going to be delayed with the Knight of Swords over the next several months. There's also something happening with this case that may be known or unknown to the public, but to those closest to the case, they'll know. The tower represents the time period of March 21st to April 20th. So that could be this coming March 21st or April 20th, something of significance to this case. Or it could be next year. Or in the time, it could associate for when the answers are revealed during that time period. But nevertheless, I do take heart that we will get some answers. We will get some answers about what may have happened. Let's see if there's anything else. I'm just pulling some additional cards. Ooh. That's kind of horrid. Okay. And we'll wrap it up. Okay, so we got political affiliation. This has grown to become a political, or will become some sort of tied to political issues here. Okay, we have inside regret. The tower speaks to this, making this more pronounced, a truth coming out about someone having regret or remorse. Inside, this kind of looks like a sparsely decorated place. Modern, if you will, could be representing the inside of the apartment or the resort apartment. Or this is an inside, not inside job, but something to do next to the political affiliation, being protected by a political affiliation, being affiliated, or having strong political ties, or the politics surrounding the situation are important, and in the perception of how people move. And that's another reason why this is taking so long. We've talked about that in the earlier parts of the reading. We have trauma, spine, black hair color, trauma. There's evidence of trauma happening here. That something happening that fateful night due to a Knight of Swords, a male, the primary suspect, male figure, dark hair, someone with dark hair. This also, whenever a hair color card comes up, it tells me that this is someone who is, who has information that may have dark hair color. It also speaks to an actual person outside of the child. Some people were thinking she wandered off and, may have caused her own little demise. I mean, she didn't herself, but you know what I mean? Like, she wandered off and something happened. No one else was involved. This affirms that someone else was definitely involved while there was social drinks gathering. I can't help but shake that this gentleman somehow kind of was a part of and spying on this vacation and family. I don't know. Does someone associated with this have an addiction or is a drug addict? Perhaps. Drugs also may be influencing someone's state of mind with the Knight of Swords. Oh my goodness. Sharp weapon may have been used in the course and scope of harm or of, I don't even want to say disposal, but you know, suffocation, literal suffocation. This is actually bringing forth disturbing light as to what may have happened to her ultimately. Northwest is of importance. Northwest of the resort, northwest of maybe where they live, something of significance of northwest and aunt. Not quite sure. Another woman representation here of maybe knowing something. Aiding and abetting, also had a woman in that picture as well. All right, my friends, that's it. What's next is we will get answers. It's going to take more years. And that's what I'm strongly sensing. It's going to take years, but we are going to get some sort of closure. It's just going to take time. As I always say, justice comes in her own sweet time, in her own sweet way, or not so sweet way, and not so sweet time. Nevertheless, it does appear that that's happening. There's something coming out, and it is, I will say, it was a blessing that this Julia lady popped up out of nowhere. Because it is reinvigorating the investigation. So that's a good thing, right? That's a plus. Whether or not she is Madeline, I don't sense that she is. But, you know, I don't mind being wrong. But I don't intuitively pick up on that. The cards didn't pick up on that. I talk about it in part 1 of the reading that I've done. Or it was part 2, my apologies. Part 2 of Madeline's reading. So on your way out, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. It does help me. It helps the channel. And I'd appreciate so much if you join my little family over here by subscribing. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to read your comments. Take very good care of yourselves. Signing off here. Bye for now.